morning of this poker vlog. We're heading over to Peppermill. They already have a full 5-10 game and a list for a 3-5 or maybe a second 5-10. I'm not sure which it's going to be. It is just amazing to me how on the weekdays, and I'm talking Monday through Friday, all 5 of them, they usually get a 5-10 game going in the morning. And then on Saturday and Sunday, they usually don't. It's usually a 3-5. If that seems bass-ackwards to you, it does to me as well. But that's the world I'm currently stuck in. Hopefully it gets changed relatively soon, which will be for the betterment of the entire poker community here. Our goal remains the same. Get into games when they're good, and get out when they're not, and try to grind out whatever wins we can. Let's not get greedy with it. Let's not bang our heads against the wall in lousy lineups. And let's hope we don't have one today. I'd roll into Peppermill at about 2 p.m. There was already a full 5-10 game going. It was later than I normally would get in because I was rewatching a show that I've already watched. I'll tell you what that is coming up later, but first, we'd fire up the 3-5 game, the first of the day on table 2, with guys like James, the Professor, Reno Grinder, Mr. W, and the legendary David Cagney, aka Slick. Sometimes I feel I have to change the way I play against guys who really know me and know the vlog, and this hand is one of those. He opens to 40 under the gun. I have pocket 4s in the low jack and make this call, and I'm the only one to do so. So with 85 in, we're heads up to a flop that comes queen, queen, 4, 2 clubs. He bets out for less than half the pot, making it 30. I think that he thinks, from watching this vlog, that I am almost always going to fast play a queen here, and he's probably right. So in an effort to throw him off the scent, I slow play this hand, with the intent of slow playing it even further up until the river. So with 145 in, the turn is the 3 of diamonds. He checks, and going with the plan I'd already made to slow play here, I check it as well. River is the jack of clubs, so the front door flush comes in. I'm certainly hoping that he has it when he bets out for 110. My first read here was that this is going to be a bluff probably about half the time, and that I wasn't going to be getting paid off. Turns out that if that read is correct, this was the other half, as I would put in a raise to 400 here. It does not take him long to call, so the pot is $945. I show my hand, and obviously I'm good. So we get off to a very good start, once again on this vlog. Middle position opens to 15. Cutoff calls, button calls, and I am in the small blind with Jack 8 of clubs. And I figure, what's the harm in completing here? It's a thought process that I would love to stop thinking. The big blind follows suit. So at 75 in, the board rolls off Jack 9-4 with 2 spades. So with top pair, the question is how to play it. I opt to just bet out very small here and see what ends up developing. I make it 30, and I am not making this up when I say that every single person here calls. And with 225 in, it's still a multi-way pot to the turn, and it comes the only card in the deck that would leave me unsure as to what to do. I'm sure you can guess what card that would be. It's the 8 of spades. So I have 2 pair here. The flush draw does come in. I figured I would make a tiny bet here and see what develops. I would bet 50. The big blind gives more action than just about anyone in our player pool, save for Mr. W and a couple others. He snap raises 100 more in this spot. And I'm here to tell you he's doing this with a lot of hands. Folds all the way around to me. Any other player that had been in this hand, I'm folding to in this spot, considering the multi-way nature of it. But closing the action, and this guy in particular, I've got to see this river. Part of the reason being if I can somehow hit my 4-outer, and he does have a flush, I'm getting all of his money. But I also think he's doing this with a decent amount of hands that are worse than mine right now. So I make that call. And the river with 525 in is a complete brick. I check, and he bets out for 200. Now, as many hands as this guy is capable of playing, he doesn't usually just bet the river when he's missed. And he certainly doesn't value bet very thinly. So despite decent pot odds in this spot, I didn't like it, and I would elect to fold my 2-pair in this spot. I ask if he has a flush, and he says yes. And he's nice enough to flash me the Brian Namath, the man who wore number 26 in Major League Soccer, as he would stack those chips. I would lose back $105 with ace-king in a hand where Slick had pocket aces, and Mr. W flopped 3 tens. Needless to say, all those chips got in, and Mr. W, who was on a heater on the day, would win a big one. All right, so I mentioned that I'm rewatching a show, and this is, I think, the first show that I've ever rewatched that's not a Vince Gilligan show, aka Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul. No, that's not true. I did rewatch Sopranos, but you know, we're talking the best of the best. The show I'm rewatching is came out a decade ago, 11/22/63. Those of you who've already seen it know what I'm talking about. First of all, I am an absolute sucker for anything time travel, at least time travel done well, and I happen to really like Stephen King's design on time travel in this particular show. I'm not going to ruin it for those who haven't seen it, but I think it's done really well. I'm also blown away at how much the guy they got to play him looks like Lee Harvey Oswald. It's like a Ted Breaker. So the show was great the first time. I watched it when it just came out a decade ago on Hulu, and now they've brought it over to Netflix. I'm rewatching it, and now I'm going to play some more hands of poker. Over the next 90 minutes, the game was good, but I could not get any hands to play. I'd find myself opening 7-5 suited and a couple other hands like it to try to get involved in this, but all that would do is cut into my profits. I often find myself thinking that, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have done this too. I'm thinking, this game's good. I cannot just sit here and knit it up. When in reality, that's really exactly what you should do if you don't have any hands that you should play. Because chances are, when you finally come out of your shell, they're not really going to care how tight you've been playing. I need to do a better job of that. And I haven't done as good of a job of that over the last year as I should have. I would then walk upstairs to see video of the very scenic Nevada side of Lake Tahoe, and some more video from slightly farther south. This gentleman then sits down, and he greets me this way. I would then get into a hand against the guy next to him, who you know is Slick. It would come about an hour later, and I had not been playing any hands. And I would pick up ace-10 after it folds to me in the low jack, and decide that that's about as good as it's been, and I'm going to play it. I make it 45 over a $15 straddle. Slick calls on the butt, and the blinds and straddle go out. So with 110 in the pot, we're heads up to ace-10-8 rainbow, giving me top 2 pair. I bet out with this for 50. Slick then does something unusual. He min raises me to 100. Now, this is just a must 3-bet spot with top 2 pair. I don't see how you could make an argument for anything else. I come back over the top, making it 250. And without any thought, he announces that he's all in for 700 more. Now, Slick, as legendary as he is, over the last couple years, has not been the same guy. At least most of the time that I've been in the game with him, he's not giving as much action as he once did. He's going to be much more nutted than the old Slick. But of course, that's the way that poker always tends to work, isn't it? The games only get worse over time. What can I tell you? I'm not here to sugarcoat this stuff. But the other thing I'm not here to do is to fold top 2 pair in this spot. I put the money in, and let's take a look at how it would play out from here.
Once it is, there can't be trips.
No, I can't either.
Ace-10.
Oh, you're ace-king?
Is this an ultimate slow roll?
I could still lose this. Yeah.
This is the ultimate slow roll? On the...
Oh, no.
I was going to say, I never really felt good about winning.
Not when he's holding it back. It's like, this feels like a slow roll.
So we'd chop that pot, and I would then look over from Purdue, Texas in the Sweet 16 to see a second 3-5 game starting on table 5. Still only 1-5-10, and it's pretty lousy. I think my point about that being the better game is being proven on this day. I then open ace-queen to 25 under the gun 1 and get a call from the polite texter from a moment ago in the cutoff. The big blind would see this flop as well, so with 80 in, we're 3 ways to the flop that comes ace, deuce, 5, rainbow. Big blind checks, and I bet out for 45 here with a pair of aces and a queen kicker. Cutoff calls, big blind folds. So with 170 in, the turn is the jack of hearts. This time I bet out for 80, and he does not waste a second, raising me to 200. And to me, this is almost always a terrible spot. In my experience, you will rarely find people trying to bluff the pre-flop raiser on ace-high boards. It's much more likely that they will try to go big with their strong hands, thinking the pre-flop raiser is not going to fold an ace. But in this case, I do fold an ace. I asked him if he had ace-jack, and indeed I would find out that he has even better than that, with the 3-4 for the flop straight. And to make matters worse, this game was on table 2. One of the tables in this room without functioning phone chargers. So while the phone I used for vlogging was charging on the table next to it, I would then get into a hand that was actually pretty good for me when I would raise ace-jack and once again flop 2 pair, this time only being up against ace-4 and getting 3 streets of value on my way to not playing a long session, but playing a profitable one. All right, the goal was not to play a long session. The goal was to play a profitable session. I was figuring 4 or 5 hours. It turns out exactly 5 hours. Out of here with a win of $462. Because I'm going to go home and watch Golden Knights Oilers. And then next week, I'm going to go to Vegas and watch Golden Knights Flames in person. Thanks to Scott Bean, who hooked me up with those tickets. Fired up for that. They're in a bit of a free fall, hoping they get out of that. All right, so those hands you just got to look at came from Thursday's session. I would proceed to jump back in on Friday. Generally speaking, Fridays are the best days of the week for poker here in Reno, and I was hoping for the same thing, but we would not get that 3-5 game going until later in the day. I would jump in what was a very mediocre 5-10 game for about 2 hours before that. In this hand, I would pick up pocket sevens in middle position and make it 20. Hijack calls. And an OMC in the big blind would also call. So with 60 in, we're 3 ways to ace 7-4, all diamonds, middle set monotone board. Big blind checks. I follow through here with a $50 bet. Hijack calls, and the big blind, to my surprise, would check call. So with 210 in, the turn is the 3 of clubs. I'm still going to have the best hand here the majority of the time. I bet $125. Hijack goes out here. Now, for what I know about this player in the big blind, he's the type that I think is just going to fold here with the king of diamonds a lot of the time, if that's all he has. But he doesn't fold. He says that he's all in, and that bet represents the final $700 I have in my stack. He has me covered because he had already had a good day doubling up aces against kings. Shout out to Bob G. Now, there was never even a minute where I considered making this call. My question is, should I have considered just checking the turn? Now, I know in hindsight, obviously I should have. But in a general sense, could this be considered a check back in a 3-way pot against 2 opponents, one of which is not the type that's just going to call along with the nut flush draw? He's far too tight of a player than that. Super patient, happy to play only one hand every couple hours if need be. Now, I've still got to believe if he has specifically ace-king with the king of diamonds here that he's going to be calling. But apart from that, I just don't know how many hands he's going to be giving action with. And it's one of those where you can just ask the question, well, if the board pairs on the river, I'm definitely winning the pot, and I could potentially be winning a big pot if he is slow playing. So is there merit to that? I think if you play this same hand 100 times, 70 of them you're not going to be getting trapped. In this case, obviously, as Admiral Akbar said, it was a trap, and I stepped right into it, unfortunately, ultimately not losing my stack, as I would fold the hand, ultimately not losing my stack. Now, I had already made up my mind I was folding, but I just kind of sat there and gave it about 10 seconds worth of thought. He turns over his hand before I fold and shows them to me, tabling king, queen of diamonds. There are some guys that they are more than happy to just collect on a pot when they have the best hand. They do not want to risk the bad beat, and this is one of those. So in what can only be described as a rare circumstance, I get to make the easiest fold of my poker career. On what was unfortunately about a $900 loss on the day, simply never having the best hand, and the only set I flop on the day ends up going down in flames, much like most of the sets I flopped in 2025. They just never seem to hold up. Pretty frustrating. So about a $500 win on Thursday and about a $900 loss on Friday. One step forward, two steps back. I would love to tell you things are going better than that, but